All right, we are now recording, and
Are
watch
you
us go
sure?
into the intro.
Woohoo!
Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ or lucky track dog league you run, SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips and tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
Tim.
Oh, there we go. Try it again. I'm a little slow on the camera switching there. And I'm mental. And you know, this is a Ferrari episode. It's episode 348. Now, introduced in 1989, the 348 replaced the much beloved 328. Everyone fell in love with that, at least of my age, watching Magnum PI. Powered by a normally aspirated 3.4 liter quad cam 4 valves per cylinder V8. And this is when numerical designations made sense. So the first two digits are the engine displacement, 3.4. And the third is the number of cylinders, 8, 348. It was a flat plane V8, made 296 horsepower, mounted longitudinally behind the driver. And it was their first ever transverse gearbox that they put into a car. So there is the 348. You knew this was coming. We're going to be doing a lot of Ferrari stuff because because we're in the 300s on this one. So, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we're testing out some new software here just in time for me to be gone for the month, and we'll go back to the old stuff. We'll see how this all works out. But as we often start the program off with my man Tim. Tim, what you working on?
I am working on getting used to a new normal. I'm sad to say that my little girl Zoe, who, if you've been to a Lemons race, dressed up as a zebra, we lost our girl this week. So getting used to a quiet house, and relearning kind of what life's like without a dog. So one of the things that I'm looking at is my schedule for the rest of the year, because now I've got a lot more free time. So I'm looking at some races that I didn't have the chance to attend prior to that, and kind of reevaluating how things are. So it's going to be a new chapter in life until we find another little nugget. There's my girl right there, and so pour one out for Zozo.
And we posted that up there. Yeah, everyone, I came home and like my dogs were all like, "Why are you being so weird and extra cuddly?" Yeah, and it's and I have no doubt that these things these creatures tend to find you. So
For sure, for
yeah.
sure. Mental, what are
Okay.
you working on?
So, if you were watching on our social medias, I finished my rolling garage table, which is a replacement for a wooden one that I had built some years ago. Uh, they're always, throwing stuff out. We've got these two big dumpsters out behind my office, and just, my particular neurodivergence is, you can call it upcycling, but really I find myself addicted to bringing home junk. Ooh, I could make something out of this. But in this particular case, I did. I have a number of these just really nice, like almost 3 inch by 3 inch, 16 gauge metal bars. So I built a table out of that and got that on there. I'm going to have to redo the wood on it. It has just been, and I don't complain about the heat, but I'm also not going to go out there when it's 112 degrees. So I come home and I've been on this Letterkenny kick. So the wife and I watch a few episodes of Letterkenny until the sun goes down, and then I go out there and, work on some stuff in the garage, and just the nature of the cycle of things, how it's going. We've had a few late nights at work, so we're taking care of, got a big exercise coming up and working on that. And you're watching this on the video. You see a familiar face, and you may have heard a voice, but it's our guest this evening. All right, it's Jim Bauman.
Howdy, everyone.
Howdy. Jim, what are you working on?
Well, first off, Mental, are you incorporating any 928 parts into your rolling table? I'm just curious.
No. I purged.
Up as a leg or something. I don't know.
I'm down to, I've got one headlight and then the original manhole cover wheels on those.
Okay. It's like an end of an era.
Yeah, I know. And actually, I'm keeping the manhole cover wheels because when I get the 5-lug conversion of my 914, I think they'll actually look kind of cool.
They'll look different. Yeah. Well, that's really sorry to hear about Zoe. She was a fantastic addition at every Lemons race, and I got to know her quite well on her home turf and in Maine. And I always thought if we could find a little, Snell helmet and like a little fire suit, and we could probably strap her into the race car with Tim, and Zoe would have been perfectly happy.
Oh, God, yes.
100%.
Because when Tim was in the race car and Zoe was in the paddock, nobody got any sleep, right? Because she's like, where's Dad? But then when Tim came back, she was like, I'm going in the race car because that's where Dad is.
Zoe may or may not have ridden next to me in a side-by-side at a ridiculous speed going through the woods and loved every minute of it. So I think she might have enjoyed being in a race car.
Yeah. I think she had it in her blood. So sorry, Tim, to hear that. News, great dog, obviously, so it can't be replaced, certainly be missed, but glad to hear your schedule may be opened up. What I'm working on, I'm back in Arizona, back in Tucson, split my time between there and San Francisco, and came back to a dryer that doesn't dry. It just spins around. And so I'm trying to become an appliance repairman. I'm trying to channel my inner Maytag man, even though it's a Whirlpool. We'll see. I got the blue hat, watching some Gordon jump, since I think he was the Maytag man for a while. Anyways, so we're trying to figure out that. We've gotten as far as there's power out of the wall. We know that. And that's about as far as we've gotten. So we'll see.
It does spinny things? It just doesn't heat?
That's about it. What's that?
All spin, no heat?
All spinny. Yeah. All spinny, no go. All show, no go.
There's another guy that he just started a podcast, but he's been on Instagram for a while. Jimmy Wayne, guy out of Houston, does the truck astrology, where he's got the picture. Oh man, the only thing you're gonna get with that is an empty wallet from having to replace, whatever.
Oh, right.
But he started a podcast. He's got 2 episodes, and it's called The Reckon Yard, RECKON, as in I reckon. He tells the whole story behind it. It's worth a listen, but he talks about how his dad would repair everything, and he would take everything slowly apart and lay it out and make sure it all, it wouldn't be fast, but it would always be right. And it took me back, since we all started this ridiculous hobby. Now I have about a 400 batting average on successfully repairing stuff that is broken, but I am absolutely fearless. It's already broken. Can't be any worse. And I take things out and I lay them out in very specific order. Yeah. So I've tried to screw some stuff up like that. If it's not drying now and it doesn't dry, when you've lost nothing.
It's just a big paperweight. So, we'll get the multimeter out, the little Harbor Freight, and we'll test the things that need to be tested and see what happens. So that's where I'm at. That's
fantastic. And honestly, let us know how that goes. Cause Tim was talking about his dad, he's got this old Mercury motor, and I woke up the next morning to a text from a local friend. He goes, my dad worked for Mercury Motors in the 60s and 70s. So, if you got questions, throw that stuff out there. It's a great community. You know all this, and we'll talk about all of it in a minute. Yeah. So keep us posted how your dryer repair goes.
I'm going to end with a phone call to a repair guy, but just, cutting to the chase. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
And either they show up and go, "Oh my God, who messed with this last time?" And you're like, "Oh, I have no idea," or they go, "Hey, yeah, pretty good job. All right, yeah. I'm just going to do these 2 little minor tweaks." When I finally had to break down and call professionals to do my roof, I'm like, they're going to get up there, they're going to mock me, they're going to be doing stuff, and the guy got up there and got, "You did this all yourself?" Yes. He goes, "Yeah, we've had professionals that did a worse job than this. You just 4 mistakes here, and here." They were gone in an hour. It was awesome.
Nice. I would have fallen off the roof, so we've never gotten that far.
It's flat. It's not that hard. All right. So, well, then, yeah, having moving on to that, it is time for us to go to our, I don't know if it's our favorite segment. Is it? I don't know. All right. But
one of our favorite.
One of our, yes. So we're going to talk about news and notes time. And this hot tip came from Tim right here. And it's the entire story of now we understand why those twin turbo V6 Tundras are self-destructing. And the owners have been whining about this. It's a big deal. And Toyota is now issuing a recall. Now, Jose Rodriguez over at The Drive, and both of our news stories are from The Drive this week, tells us the whole thing. When they offered the Turbo 6 in lieu of their V8s, consumers were skeptical, as is often the case with this. Every OEM who's done the same thing. And they are recalling a little more than 100,000 models of the Tundra. And the reason, models, quote, with a specific V35A engine that contains crankshaft main bearings, which allow the crankshaft to rotate within the engine assembly while running, which, if I understand correctly, is the purpose of a crankshaft bearing. During a specific production period, there is a possibility that engine machining of debris of a particular size and amount may not have been cleared from the engine during the manufacturing and subsequently contaminated the engine assembly during the production process. And I think that anybody that has changed unicorn glitter oil at a racetrack can understand that, but I feel like you shouldn't expect that kind of thing from Toyota.
No flushy.
No. They clearly didn't clean up their mess.
They ordered 100 10mm sockets and threw one in every engine before they sealed it up.
Some disgruntled employee. I'll show you guys on that one.
What is this move towards the turbo V6s? Like with Ford did it, right? And these other ones, like, is it?
I remember reading a couple things in this. My understanding is it started way back during the Obama administration. Thanks, Obama. But they were leaning towards tougher emission standards. So the company sat down and said, this isn't going away and people are going to want more fuel efficient. So they went with small forced induction motors. GM, Ford, Chrysler, all those people. I'm told that Chrysler, the small displacement diesel Chrysler, is a wonderful motor. I have no idea what its reliability, but guy in my office has a 1500 diesel and he freaking loves it. And he gets like almost 40 miles per gallon. So
because diesel, but the EcoBoost, when Ford came out with the EcoBoost, they were slightly better gas mileage. I have the V8 of the same thing,
right?
Slightly better gas mileage, but when you tow, it is horrible because the thing is constantly under boost. So your gas mileage is brutal.
And
make it eat.
So I don't know. They'll figure it out. Europe's been making tiny displacement supercharged and turbocharged engines forever. We'll figure it out, or we won't. I don't know. We'll just keep getting these big loafy V8s.
And those are all built in the States, right? Those turbo V6s.
Yes, I believe that. Yeah, those are the Texas plant.
Okay.
Which is why they have that special 1892, whatever year. Some Texas crap.
Special edition, right? I thought cylinder deactivation on 8s was a great idea. I don't know if that's still a big thing, but it seemed to work pretty good there for a while.
My brother had one of those the 392 Chargers, but he said he could, with 3 people in the car, in addition to him, he could get like 35 miles per gallon cruising because it would just shut down half the cylinders, and that's like better than my Miata gets.
Right.
Wasn't the challenge with the deactivation, cylinder deactivation oiling issues in those shutdown cylinders?
Yeah.
Probably.
If you know, let us know in the comments, because that's something. Yeah, and he didn't have the Hellcat. He just had like the regular 392 kind of a jam on that one. But
It's not the displacement; it's the credit score.
exactly.
I learned that one from
Number of speeding tickets.
Yes. Oh.
Numbers
All right.
are hard. Well, the other piece of interest comes from Maddox K, exploiting a little-known law. The city of New York can and will auction off your car within 10 days of impounding it. This is regardless of the cause to tow. And to rub salt into that wound, you're not allowed to bid on your own vehicle at the auction. Not that most victims could afford to, anyway. As the article mentions, this clearly is those least likely to afford it, and thus the one least likely to fight it. The article points out New York City's publicly accessible vehicle auctions page for a single week in November of last year, 2023, and they sold more than 180 cars, with no delineation about the ones that were abandoned, seized, or towed, and Gotham not commenting on how many vehicles they seize annually or the amount of revenue the article is forced to put into public math. 184 times 52 weeks adds up to nearly 10,000 people losing their cars each and every year. It's not all greed. New York City's West Side Highway storage was closed in 2021 to make way for a park, but recent rulings elsewhere might help. Poverty tows, as they are known, were banned last year in San Francisco as they were deemed unconstitutional, as they represent an unreasonable seizure of property. More as this develops, and yes, we included it to the auctions page in the show notes.
I know that we do not celebrate the misfortunes of others, but hey, man, a cheap car is a cheap car, and $500 my ass. So yeah. I'm waiting for somebody to show up with the Maserati that they pulled out of auction.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a pretty good way to acquire a car under market value. I mean, I get those Joyride, now they're called Autura. They were called Joyride, Bay Area auctions, and they get, 15, 20, they're getting like some auctions. So that's San Francisco impound, you get 80 cars in one auction, and a lot of them get no action, Yeah. And
they go cheap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because people are scared of them. If you're looking for a reliable car, you're not getting me to go to an auction, because even if it was maintained up before the auction, it sat in a lot for, ever.
Right.
But yeah, I would, but we're capable people, and all right, we'll rip into this thing, rebuild it. Here's all the problem points. And And I know that there's a race over who's going to bring the first Maserati Quattroporte to limits. I feel like the West Coast has a better shot at it just out of vehicle availability. But some guy with a Maserati that he bought right after tax season at the buy here, pay here lot that he couldn't afford, and he parked illegally or started having transmission problems. Ooh,
yeah.
Might actually make it to lunch.
The Alpha Giulias are not far behind. That is a Chrysler product through and through. You throw a turbo at it and 60,000 miles. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got it a warranty and nobody wants
what could go wrong?
What
nothing a flathead would fix,
And I'm not gonna say that this is that we have a plan, but we have a plan. We know exactly how we're going to take this Maserati, how we're going to put it down. We're not even going to sign up 4 drivers because we know it won't make it till lunch on Saturday. And then we have a plan for post blow up Maserati. Yeah. And the first person to bring an Iron Duke Maserati, that's IOE gold right there.
Right. Sounds like a little bit like the Citroen of old, Everybody thought that was going to blow up by lunch. It really didn't, though.
No, but it didn't really do much either. You've heard the phrase, they call it Citroen better, which means it's better. It's not good, but it improved. Oh, and we're talking about the 3-pedal Mafia S&M car, which was a hoot. on that one.
Yeah. It's the only automotive motor I've ever seen that had like a power takeoff. It had like an additional jack shaft.
Yeah.
That, hey, draw your own conclusions while they call it a jack shaft, but it was driving accessories. It's like just like in a tractor or something, right? You shove something in the back of it, and you can run a harvester. You could run like a giant suction pump if you wanted to. I don't know.
There it is. Yeah.
That's your
Yeah. Which you couldn't run, those 3 carburetors in sync. But that car got sold off to a collector in Texas, and he's very ecstatic about it. So he's probably got it running great. I hope he kept the dildo on the shifter.
Me too. Learn about it.
Of course he did.
Okay. Tim, I found this one. You've been so good about finding stuff, but I found this car.
So, Magic Spinning Triangles. This is a 1983 RX-7. It's a previous SCCA race car with a logbook. Now, it has a full roll cage, but the seller admits it might need a little bit of modification to meet Lemon's specs.
I don't know.
The harness
It looks pretty good, though.
It looks pretty good. Pretty good. Hey, you better be a small human. I would say the first look at it is that the cage on the driver's side is a little snug to the seat in one of the pictures I saw, but that's pretty easy. Cut the door bars out, send them.
I feel like this passenger side is also the part it's going to get you paggled. But it's got a decent curve on it, and then Mm-hmm.
Hard to
say.
It
comes in a little snug around the footwell area, but
that bottom's a little wonky.
Yeah.
I think I'd want to pad my knee if I was driving that race car.
Yeah.
Knee. Yeah. Yeah. What was the hot swap back in the days for these? Wasn't it 302s? Didn't there was all kits and everything for putting 302s in these things?
Yeah, and they didn't even really need kits because it fit in there.
Right.
And and then of course LS all the things became LS all the things.
Right. I mean, it's kind of that little, what is it, a 13A or a 13B?
That's a 13A and I believe 4-port. And I'm sure the rotary heads that listen to our show will be like, because 13B was the original 13B, and that body style was the 6-port. And then the second gen came along, and the FC, and that one was fuel injected. Yeah. But
right.
But
all of them very good for endurance racing.
Now the key to that, Tim, is the sound. The more annoying the sound the RX-7 makes, the worse the results are. So there is a disproportional. There's like a curve somewhere, right? Of like gargling barbed wire is up here, and like kittens purring is down here. And if you're down here, you're going to be like top 10 at least IOE candidate. If you're up here, you're just annoying Nick Pon and Jay, and you're probably just going to leave, on Saturday.
Yeah. Not just them. At Sonoma, I know we implement the rule that if you come into penalty because it's inside those NASCAR garages, you turn your rotary off before you enter.
Coast in, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Straight up, because it is just.
Everybody's like,
and I own 4 of those things, and I love RX-7s. On that one, but as we talked about in the notes on this one too, the stuff. John Pagel got his start racing one of these, so he'll tell you exactly what you need to do to fix the cage. And if you ever get him to tell you the story of how he won the Spec 7 race at Altamont, it's awesome. It is like it's just peak Pagel.
I'm trying to picture Pagel in an RX-7. I'm just seeing a lot of elbows and hair and I don't know how it's going to work.
I want to see a photo of that for sure.
He says there's one because so they were running the West Coast, and Altamont was a tiny little, eighth of a mile oval before it got caved in there. And he looked at the rules, and all he did was, make a modification how his suspension mounted so that the car defaulted to the left. And he didn't even realize he had won until the race was over. He was just, eighth of a mile oval.
25-second lap, right?
Yeah. And so And because it was at the oval track, it was a feature. They paid him cash. You know, that's how those things go. It's a good story because
he's a professional race car driver then.
Exactly. But anyway, this car, they spent the money and they got the package because it's got like 10 photos, which is great. And of course, it's a link in the show notes. You've got 13-inch wheels. It comes with another set of 15-inch wheels. It's got a new fuel pump and the new fuel filler. They rebuilt the car. They've got the idler arms. They drained the tank and then coated everything just to get rid of the old stuff. It's got an alignment and it's close to you. It's in Arizona and it's less than $5,000. $4,900. So you get like
for a small fee. I will go put eyes on it for you.
Boom. There you go. You get 4 people with $2,000. You could have this at the butt. Easy.
Now, serious question though. So if you're running 13s or 14s, where are you finding 190 treadwear these days? Anywhere?
That's a fascinating question. You may have to just go with the all season, Douglas extra tracks and
it's either Hoosier A6s or Douglas all tracks. Yeah, it's one or the other.
Mucho macho.
Mucho machos. Yes, there you go. Get the mucho macho super. Yeah.
Phased off. 15s are next. Yeah, they're coming for your 15s.
I really hope not. I have a little tiny Honda out front. Yeah, I would take my Miata down to 15s, but I won't be able to clear the brakes I want to put on it. So
right.
All right. So hey, yeah, check out Racing Junk. We got a link to the car on there in our show notes.
How do you get the special deal, Mental?
Well, we're waiting for them to get back to us, but I've been told that you can still use Pod 23 and get that discount. And they run specials all the time, like $20 here. This will get you like a 1 month, sort of a thing. Yeah.
Check it out.
We're actually batting a pretty good average for advertising cars on Racing Junk and having people go and buy them. So it has worked out for us in the past. It is, but we talked about the butt, and the butt's coming up in September. Yeah, we're all going to be there, aren't we? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Sweet.
Everyone's
Tim,
in the butt.
Yeah, everyone's in the butt. Tim, you're going to be racing, but me and Jem, yeah, it's going to be a good time. But that is a horribly worded segue to our next part, which is the upcoming races. And it is a busy, busy week on the calendar. That's you, Tim. That's
all right. Well, Champ Car is running. I was clearing my throat. Give me a second. Champ Car is running. Sebring Under the Stars. It's a single day, 12-hour event. 55 cars. 12 BMWs. Not bad. 14 Miatas. All right, now it's too much.
Yeah, that's... And it's Florida. What'd you expect?
Yeah, yep. 5 Hondas, 2 Porsches, and a Ford effing Ranger from the Napoleon team of effing Ford Ranger.
Yes, you can't go wrong with Ford effing Rangers. Okay. And I'm trying to switch between 2 computers here on this one. AER, they've got a much abbreviated calendar this year, but they are at Summit Point where I got my lemon start after Altamont back in the day. So they're doing an 8+8. Now they've got 45 cars. Stay with me. 28 of those are BMWs. Oh, that is just
series nowadays.
So right? Boring. Yes.
E46 spec series.
Oh, yes. And it's 29 if you count the Mini Cooper.
Right. Which more of a no than a BMW.
4 Miatas, 2 Hondas, 5 Porsches. Of the 5 remaining cars, you've got a Mercedes 300. Okay. Cool. All right. An RX-7. And it's a first gen, like the one we just showed right there. An FRS, a Rabbit, and a GTO. Dale be praised.
Ooh, okay.
All right. Now
167 GTO?
No, I think it's one of the new ones. Now I did Tim dirty here, and I got the numbers for the next race, and then absolutely failed to put them in the show notes. So I'm trying to be very covertly pasting that in right now so he can.
Well, I just want to mention that the fact that there's only 4 Miatas at AER is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. It's like WRL. They kind of end up running like their own race out there. And I've run AER. I've got no beef with AER, but it does feel like where every BMW CCA race car goes to die.
Yeah, quick question on the Summit Point race. Do they run Super Mario Track Shenandoah, or do they run Collisions with Deers Jefferson?
I think they run the collision with Deers. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Not
Like,
the one Lemons used to run with the, the infamous, the collisions with Deers is the one with the, I think they run the big track.
Yeah. Jefferson, I think it's called. Yeah.
I wish, I know why we don't, but I wish Lemons would go back there because I love the carousel. That is like the only place that in the amateur circuit where you're going to have that. And it was, Tim, did you ever get a chance to run Summit Point?
I have not.
It's literally a version. Yeah, it's a version like at the Nuremberg you had a low flat paved bank, concrete paved bank, and then high flat. And you had to hit that bank. You would jockey for position because if you went the two flat things, you were just getting rocketed past by everybody who took that in there. It was unique.
From the straight to the banking part was like bad for your car. Like whatever you did, it was bad for the car. The wheels, the suspension, chassis, it just cumulatively the car was getting some crack was getting bigger somewhere.
Yes, you could hear like the underside of
So you're saying it's a great track to go and do an arrive and drive at.
Which is the only way I ever raced at Summit Point. That was my early iteration with the 3-pedal Mafia, and so many Hondas, the Wartburg.
That was the one, right? That was like the EG or the whatever it was.
This was the Spam wagon. He had a Wago van that it was Chris's mom's car.
Okay,
and he went and towed it out of her yard and fixed it all up, and it was all-wheel drive, and we ran that one for a couple of seasons, and then went to go put it up on jacks after a season, and the whole car kind of like went banana shaped. The only thing holding it together was the roll cage, and it was like, okay, time for another one. Yeah. Good times. But Tim, I think I've got the Lucky Dog stuff updated.
Yeah, and speaking of Lucky Dog is making their series debut at Rockingham Roval for the Release the Rockhounds event. There are 45 cars, drum roll, 9 BMWs, 5
which is
Miatas,
outstanding,
3 Hondas, 1 Porsche. That's amazing. What a great mix right there. And there are some absolute gold entries in here. Our buddies at Cheap Thrills are bringing the STS. There's a 75 Nova from Cheapo Thrills. Rigs and Horses is bringing their Lincoln Town Car.
Nice.
Ramrod has an 87 Fiero. The Fontana Village people are in a 96 Buick Century. My grandmother has one of those. And Randy will be there in his Flying Moose 740.
Oh, which we love, Randy. I don't think that car has ever finished a race.
That car's been around, man.
Oh, he's been, and I remember he made a video a couple of years ago of like, the Flying Moose, it's back and it's better than ever. And it lasted like an hour.
Yeah.
The car's been around. It just hasn't been around the track.
Well, and it's, it's built within an inch of its life and it's fast as all get out, but yeah. That's a fun. That is an outstanding. I'm a little disappointed. There's only 45 cars at Rockingham, in North Carolina. Yeah.
North Carolina.
If you're in the Southeast, this is a great chance. You need to go do a Lucky Dog race.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
And invite us.
Yeah. Valid. Yeah. Yeah. It's not Lemons. Don't get me wrong, but they still put on I think a pretty good event. So
Has Lucky Dog done a lot of East Coast stuff, or
no, they just
like-
started a couple of years ago. They had the Carolina Cup, and it used to be a 2-track series, but now they've branched out. They unfortunately had to cancel Brainerd this year, which the track couldn't get them a date that works. Which I know, like our buddies over at FOMOCO were quite disappointed in that. But they've expanded out there, and they're even running Pitt this year, which
okay, another great track.
so you should get out there and run that. Tell Kathy and Charlene and everybody that the crew at E1R says hello. It's a fun event.
I think it's the week after Connecticut, isn't it?
Yes,
The Pitt race?
or
Yeah.
like they're right up against
Overlap. Yeah.
each other.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, did you guys get that email from Bring a Trailer about a big event that they're doing in the Pittsburgh area with like something in a park? It just kind of hit me out of nowhere. I don't know if you're on their mailing
I
list.
think that's going to be in conjunction with the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. They've got a section that in Schenectady Park that they'll be doing out there. We obviously were out there last year doing the media thing, and the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix is amazing. I was very excited that it was going to be the weekend after a big exercise, and I was almost going to be able to make it this year. And then they tasked me to do a specific task, and I will not be at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix this year.
Stupid government.
I know. Ugh. Yeah.
The man trying to hold you back.
Unfortunately, the man also pays for my stupid racing addiction. So, I've got to do that. All right. Now it is time for Listener feedback. Yeah. All right. So I posted up that what you're working on, talking about that table, my newly constructed shop table. And on the gram, Brett said, quote, I'm working on the same project in my garage. In my effort to minimize the horizontal space, which perpetually generates clutter, I downsize workbenches while increasing functionality. Boy, steel has gone up in price recently. Yes, it has. That's why I use crap that everyone was going to throw away anyway. I have the horizontal storage problem in my house. If it's a flat surface, it becomes accumulating. But I don't have that problem actually too bad in my garage. I have to prioritize my horizontal space for, like, right now, engines. So, yeah, I empathize.
Our man Tyler Stankinator was elbows deep in some MX3 engine work. Among other things, he did a bunch of work to the MX3 in an attempt to address the persistent overheating and fix anything it may have damaged in the process. Replaced the head gasket, got the head machined, flushed out the coolant while it was apart, replaced a water pump and timing belt, and just got the car running again after about 3 weeks. Well done, Stank.
Now, he added that this was the, quote, first time I've ever taken a head off, and the only thing that went wrong is I forgot to hook up the distributor to the coil and reconnect the fuel pump before attempting to start the engine again. And that's a lesson. Don't be afraid to open something up and learn. Our man here is repairing a washing machine or a dryer. You never know. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Could
He's
go
attempting.
could go swimmingly well.
And now is that the four-cylinder?
Could burn the house down.
He's working on there. Do we know?
I think, this is the four. Yeah, this is the 4-cylinder one. He got in with, there's a handful of people that still run those MX3s, the Hong Nor crew, and Kevin and those guys. And they've had some success, I think, with the V6s, but most of their wins are coming in that in the 4-cylinder one.
Wasn't Hong Nor dominant with that car back in the day?
Oh God, yes, they were.
They Lemons races.
They call it the Trans Am, and then the other one, and then one of them got wadded up pretty good, and so they had to like cut up and make the two of them. I remember back in 2011, they towed all the way out to Texas to get like the national championship on that, and they still run a lot of races in the Southeast. And yeah, I mean, they're all phenomenal drivers, and they know their way around a Mazda or two.
I think this is the blue one that he debuted at Road America last year.
It is. Yeah, he's been working on this project for a while. Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him.
Those are neat little cars.
Well, Matt F. was hosting a proper summer soiree, entertaining about 1,000 little people on Logan's birthday. And I think he's talking about children, for those of you that minds are in the gutter. It's 9 o'clock and we're about done.
Yeah. And you know, I don't have kids, but you know, I've been around enough kids' birthday parties to know exactly. I can hear that sound of, you know, 40 screaming kids around a pool in the summertime. And it contains within it happiness, but will also absolutely give you a headache.
When you're a parent, your instinct just kicks in. Small children, large body of water. No, let's just have no fatalities, and it'll be a success.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
pretty much how
so
it goes.
waiting for the one to run around the edge of the pool, slip, crack their skull open.
Exactly.
EMTs come.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be
Nobody wants to
fantastic.
find Johnny at the bottom of the pool.
No.
Nick Heine saw that and suggested that I should be welding with the Daft Junk helmet and be a hero. James F. was also doing some head work. He'd cleaned up his cylinder heads and getting his intake ready to reassemble.
And the Ronster Raps Maestro put a new monitor on the sim rig. $500 my ass. He's not wrong.
No.
Andrew Steer was doing a little bicycle maintenance.
Yeah. DJ914 replied, love seeing the T1 motors on the old workbench back there, the one that I'm replacing. Good luck on the new bench. No car stuff for me as we just got back from Disney vacation. He was talking about my Volkswagen motors, my newly acquired Formula V acquisitions on there. And he did share a poster of or a picture of Lightning McQueen, as you do.
Sure.
Al Jones said, ooh, it's a chilly 98 degrees in Pittsburgh today, and some idiot decided it'd be a good weekend to pack up the garage and get ready to move into a new one. Oh, that's me. I'm the idiot.
Self-inflicted.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And lots of sympathy, but also no sympathy because we're all doing the same thing. DC Doug noted that he needs to build a table.
And Sajeev commented on our last episode about the True 24. Whew, that was a night.
Yeah. Now, we had a personal message that showed up. It wasn't on any of our social medias, but one of the listeners was talking about, you know, the steps that I've been taking this year. And it was really nice. They opened up about they also had to come to a decision. Do I like drinking or do I like racing? And they chose racing. They had no luck at that 24 and they were considering blasting music just to annoy their neighbors because, and what screwed them was the infrastructure because they actually had a race engine and they had to have high octane gas and they couldn't get it because the power was off. And then the card reader or the phone connection for the card reader wasn't working at the track. So the infrastructure absolutely screwed them on that one. But it was interesting is they were sharing with me the voyage that you're making with, you know, giving this up to do this thing. And I've been meditating on this one all day and I wanted to throw this one out there. It's not in the show notes on there, but people of a certain age, our age, you grew up, and if you were having a physical, emotional, or mental struggle, you kept that to yourself because that's how it just how it was, and you've been reinforcing that habit over decades. And what I have noticed repeatedly, in fact, in every single case, when I have actually revealed something or lifted the shield or just opened up about something emotionally, physically, or mentally that I am facing to the gearhead crowd, 100% of the time, instead of being shunned or mocked, I've been met with support and honesty and people telling me about their similar voyages on that one. So I just want to throw this one out there. All right. We're taught that we keep all this stuff inside, but if you've got a good group of gearhead friends and you've got something you're wrestling with, don't burden yourself with that one. Open that up to your friends. And I think you're going to be really, really surprised at the reception you get and the support that you get. And if it's something that somebody in your circle has not faced, it is probably something that somebody else was too afraid to open up with. And it was just a really, really nice, open, kind of wonderful thing that someone shared with me their minor struggles on that one. And it just reminded me that this is a truly wonderful community that we're dealing with on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Second to that. I mean, you know, stuff that goes wrong up here is just the same as a busted knee or a twisted ankle, you know, or getting stitches and, you know, somewhere. It's all part of you, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. You can, and somebody else, like you just said, mental probably had that same issue, or they knew somebody that did, and then you're not alone. That's a huge, huge thing when it comes to sharing anything
Yeah.
like that.
And you might be the person that inspires someone else to realize they're not alone. So just,
Absolutely.
don't suffer in silence. All right.
Awesome.
And if you've opened up and shared something with me, I hope I was supportive and honest and loving on that one. But if I wasn't, I apologize. But I want to thank you for opening that up with me. And you know who's always supporting and loving and honest? Chrissy's mom.
Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Hello, Chrissy's mom. If you're listening, thank you. We're not surprised if you're not. I get it. Following their vacation photos, I think Chris and Chrissy will be back next week. We'll find out. If not, we got a good crew. We'll keep it going.
All of a sudden, I want cookies. Understandable.
There you go. Yeah, you got to get on her birthday mailing list. That stuff shows up on there.
On the to-do list.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to our main topic. And our main topic is, in fact, you, Jim. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
You already told me there'd be questions.
Yes. Well, and this
More of an
is,
interrogation.
yeah. This is going to sound dismissive and insulting, and it's not meant to be. I feel like you're one of those, you're one of those people that has always been around, and I couldn't tell you when you started being around. I know where you live and what you do and what you're good at and what irritates you and that kind of stuff. Usually it's something I'm doing, but, what's the 30-second elevator pitch on who are you as a racer, as a person?
Yeah. I mean, there's some questions that you sent me ahead of time. I got cliff notes, but as to how long I've been around the lemon scene, 2009. So we started building a crappy old Volvo in Vermont in 2000, I think winter of 2008, which is really smart to go pick up a car in the middle of the winter with bald tires and drive it about an hour and a half back.
Well, you got to have something to do in the winter, though, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, snowmobiling, ice fishing, and building race cars. So that was, and I had a great crew. Several of them still race. Jason and Russ still race. Not that Volvo, but a different Volvo back on the East Coast. And 2009, Stafford Springs. I think that was our first race, which, much like Altamont, is like a tiny little 3rd-mile oval with like a little D in the middle and like chicken heads all over the place that you could run into. And I think the fast lap was like 33 seconds. And I think the winning team had like 1,100 laps. So the Kielbasa Kids, I remember. It was a little Honda Civic. But that was our first race, 09. And then one of the guys, actually, it was even before that, Jason, he had done the Lamest Day, which is a legendary race, in Lemon's lore, was the 24-hour Nelson Ledges. And
that's actually where Chris and Jeff went to go pick up the Wartburg.
Right.
Yeah, it's all circular, man.
Yeah, it's all circular. So in Vermont until 2013, and then flying back and forth from my job. Well, my spouse's at the time job took us to California, and for a little while I was back and forth California doing 5-6 races a year, as the finances allowed. And racing this beautiful yellow Bertoni coupe that you might have seen at various racetracks around you. We blame Phil for that one, and we're very glad that he forced us to get a Bertoni coupe. And then on the West Coast, met up with that weird guy in the middle there. Apparently he was only about a mile away from me. And when the Lemons forums actually used to get traffic, I don't know if they still do. Hopefully they do. That's where I met Tim. And a few bad decisions later, and we were wrenching on a terrible, terrible Nissan.
So bad. I hate the car.
There he goes.
We're trying to keep it clean. Yeah, there we are. There's the crew. And that picture on the right is a lot of fun because that was the first race that car ever did on the West Coast. And the guy in the middle, one of the guys in the middle there, his name is Russ. And we call him Russbot because he's kind of like a robot. In terms of how he races and how he fixes stuff. He's just perfect at how he does both of those things. He had just split up from his wife of several years, and he's like, you know what? I want to take a cross-country trip. I'm going to tow this stupid race car from Vermont to California. And we did races along the way. We did race in Texas. We did California. We did Michigan. We did Carolina. We had a great time with that car in that couple of years. And that was our first and only race at Sonoma with that car, where the drive shaft fell out of the car on day number one.
Chalice of failure.
Yeah. And then we found a guy with a similar swap to ours in Novato, which is right next door. And we went and took the drive shaft out of his rally car. We brought him cookies in exchange and put it into our race car and finished the rest of the weekend. And then we did another race. Actually, that's right. We did. Remember that one race that was called NASA We Have a Problem, the 2-hour race?
Oh, goodness, man.
Yeah.
It's popping into my head. Yeah.
Right. It was like 2014, I think. And so Jason Ross and I did that, and we kept using the same guy's drive shaft. And then he came to the track. He said, "Hey, dirtbags, where's my drive shaft?" At the end of the 2-hour race, we got under it, undid it with the special bolts, and handed him his drive shaft and a case of beer.
There you go.
And everything was good. So, but that's kind of the start of the Lemons scene. But it's been a great ride. It's really, Lemons has always been kind of a home. Done more or less races, but and you always meet new people. And despite that race car was so terrible, it had its moments where it was fun, and we had a lot of good times working on that car, even as bad as it was. In fact, this award over my shoulder, I think, came from that race car. So epic weekend where we pulled a hermaphrodite 95% restored Pinto out of a garage in Hayward. So a lot of good memories and more to come. I just love to see new racers. That's my favorite thing at races, is to meet new teams that have just found out about Lemons, by the by, and they find a home in Lemons. Best example of that recently is the Colonel Angus team. I don't know if you've met those guys.
Yeah.
Fantastic, those guys.
Such a great attitude. It's like a father and son, and I think a daughter it's parents and a son and daughter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I need to, yeah. Because and for those that don't know, it's a Ford Focus.
Like early 2000s.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And they spent all their time getting it ready, and they weren't going to theme.
Right.
And I distinctly remember that. And then Mom was like, "Yeah, we're not letting that one slide." And she went down to the good old Hobby Lobby there and found every double entendre, nonsensical that she could make about Colonel Angus.
If you don't know it, just put it in YouTube. Colonel Angus, SNL. Have fun.
Yes. It was
most of these things work.
Yeah.
Don't do it on your work phone.
Somewhat safe.
I don't know. It's Saturday Night Live. It's PG-ish.
Right. All on time.
But yeah, and they're still around. Where did we just say they were just at Thunderhill? As a matter of fact.
Yeah. And they handing out gift cards to some of the staff, as I recall. I think most of the staff got some nice gift cards from those guys. It was, they're just a really high quality people. And Lemons attracts those type of people. Well, it attracts all kinds of people. It keeps those kind of people.
Yes.
Some of the folks self-select out, and that's
I'm
okay.
not a linguist. Cunnilingus.
Exactly. And we've got no beef with them. I'm here to win. I'm here to do whatever. Okay. Yeah. Awesome, buddy. And we're not saying you can't win, but you're missing so much more if that's all you're chasing is the win. Yeah. And there's some of the Colonel Angus.
Colonel Angus living at JD Pickett. Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah. So Jim, a little bit of news, some hot off the press news for you from Jersey. They are thinking about doing a reunion trip back to Sonoma with the Bertone.
Oh,
so I was like, "Are you sure you guys want to do that?" So that was
is
being
that car the
discussed while
most
they were working on
long?
the transmission.
Isn't that the most long-suffering car in Lemons right now? I feel like it is.
Way more miles and miles than it should be allowed to have, because
Yes,
it started off. Just a very quick story in that car. is that, our, much like the Honda we were talking about, our first Volvo was very rusty. And one time we put it up on jack stands, we noticed it kind of doing a little banana thing. And we said, oh, wait, maybe we should get a new chassis. And that coincided with Felgredden saying, if you guys bring us a Bertone, you can spend as, much, basically we'll give you the Bertone loophole, right? Which is, you can do whatever you want. So we found this thing down in Philadelphia. It was just a shell. We towed it back north. We, repainted it green, but we left the regular Volvo motor that we had from the other car in it. So just a plain Jane 2.3, whatever it was, 108 horsepower, something like that. And we won C-Class first time out. And we're actually 8th overall with it, which is like, we just stayed clean. And then a couple races later, we won B with it, very luckily against the, what are those guys that run the nice blue Volvo on the East Coast, are good friends of ours. They broke an alternator and we happened to win B at the end. And then flash forward a couple years, that same car, now with a 940 turbo motor with the oil squirter, of course, we won just by lucky chance. Again, we won the overall at CMP. So that car's won all 3 classes and a lot of other shit in between. So it's just whatever, it was born under a good sign, that car. It probably has cracks, but Russ gets it up in the long Vermont winters, as he's there in his waste oil heated garage with the bright lights shining them everywhere and welding up the seams and fixing the cracks. And, it just keeps going. It
does keep going. I remember in, I'm going to say it was 2016. That one made it to Barber, and Jeff was driving it. I was running with Jerry Ringel in the Thunderbird, and Chris and Chrissy were down there with Humps in the BMW. And we had just started doing this show. And we sent Jeff to the driver's meeting because, I'm not going to the driver's meeting. That's for new guys kind of a deal. And Jeff asked a question at the driver's meeting and somebody goes, I know that. You're on Everyone Racers. So Bert won because Jeff came back from that because of Bert won, which is why he was in Alabama, and goes, bad news. People are listening to us. We have to actually revise some of the nonsense that we're saying. Like, we can't tell people to throw their batteries in the ocean because it recharges the electric eels. So yeah, there's, Bert One is a thread that keeps weaving itself through a lot of commonality in this automotive community. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, got you in the Sorry for Party crew. So knowing that, the Bert one, and that's what you got. What got you started in racing to begin with? Or literally was your first time ever just, I'm going to go racing lemons?
No, there was a bit of an evolution there. And going back to being a kid, Indy 500 was kind of a thing in our family because I had an uncle who lived really close to the track and would go every year. 2 of my uncles would go to the Indy 500 and talk about it. One of the uncles, guy lived in Maryland. He had an A1 Rabbit, not even a GTI, a Rabbit that he autocross. I'm like, what the hell's autocross? You're like the coolest guy in the world to me, right? And then the other uncle had like an MGB that he, so there was a little bit of car guy, on the periphery. But I do remember watching a fair bit of racing as a kid. In fact, this 88 Trans Am shirt I wore for a reason, because one of my favorite videos of all time is Hurley Haywood driving this car, I believe, in Belle Isle in Detroit. And the on-board camera of that racing.
When they just were, oh man, like they were,
yeah.
Oh God, I saw like a video and they were just annihilating everything because it was the first really successful application of all-wheel drive in street racing. And those things are belching fire and just like they're not slowing down for the turns or anything.
5 pounds of boost, 5 cylinders all weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and Trans Am was like, well, we don't like all-wheel drive. Go away. So they banned it.
Which, it's annoying, but I feel like also in racing, that's a sign that you're winning when they have to make a rule about you.
It is interesting that Audi keeps moving to different racing series. And I have been an Audi file at times. I sort of go in and out of being an Audi guy, but Every race series.
Usually when you drive one, you're an Audi guy. Then you have to fix one. You stop being an Audi guy.
Yeah. After like my third Coupe GT, I said, maybe I have a problem here. So every racing series, right? Rally and then Trans Am and Le Mans, and we'll see what happens with F1. But they have, kind of pushed the envelope and changed the series, everywhere they've gone. So we'll see. But that was kind of like, early days. And then also I was at the right time to pull a Lazy, Senna, Prost, Nigel Mansell, right? There were some crazy good days back in the late 80s and early 90s when I was a kid to watch F1. And you really had to try to watch F1 because they had like 2 races. They had like Monaco and one other one, right? That was the only ones that were on ABC.
Yeah. Back in they would still run. Long Beach was actually F1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, and then fast forward to right before I moved to Vermont in 1998, I found a Cherry first gen CRX 87. And I said, this is going to be, I know about autocross. This is going to be my autocross car. And so I started stripping it down and put the Tokikos on it, right? The Tokiko Illuminas. It had a big ass rear bar on it that the previous owner had put on there. And it was a great little car, no power, right? But it taught me how to drive a slow car fast on the street anyway. And moved to Vermont. Okay, everything's fine. There's a nice sports car club up there. I'm 6 months into my life in Vermont, and I get T-boned in an intersection in that car. Never saw the cones, unfortunately, and would have been fun. But for some reason, I don't know what the segue is, I went from being a Honda guy to a Galant VR4 addiction, which I don't recommend for anyone ever. It was a bad idea. It is a DSM that is pretending to be a regular, Japanese car. And they only imported 3,000 of them for a reason because, there it is. Thank you. All right, there's one of them. I don't know which one that was. They all rusted to shit. That was the one I picked it up right near Normal, Illinois, where those damn DSMs were screwed together. And isn't Normal, Illinois? I think it's like Rivian or somebody now, or Lucid. I don't know.
Lordstown is the. It's one of them. Yeah.
Right. So there's the Gallants, and they were a lot of fun. Also, the Gallants introduced me to hill climb, and if you're not familiar with hill climb, that's from Mount Philo. It is an amazing discipline in motorsports where you basically just try to go up a hill as fast as you can without hitting trees.
And they run that on like roads that they close off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Most of them in the Northeast are at ski areas. And the granddaddy one is Mount Washington, right? They only do that about every 3 years now. But fantastic. That is a fantastic motorsports discipline. Just be prepared. You're gonna bust it, right? You're gonna hit a tree. You're gonna go in a ditch at some point if you're really trying to go fast. But those guys don't care. And that and rally to me are two of the most interesting motorsports disciplines out there. But that was, and then so autocross did a fair bit of that in the Galant and some other cars. I think my favorite autocross story is a Mitsubishi Expo.
And real quick, I do have to share this photo right here.
Oh yeah, there it is. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. But this little Mitsubishi Expo that was like stuck in third gear when it got warm, but I had like first, and so I just stuck it in second gear and went around this autocross course, and I beat like a Lotus Elise, 911, I put the Galant wheels on the Expo because the Galant was leaking or something or whatever, who knows. And so that's one of my favorite autocross stories.
That's fantastic.
But I think the Lemons thing was we saw some of the press coverage from Altamont all the way in Vermont, right? Some of the 2007 or 6 or 7 press coverage, it might have been Road and Track. I forget who.
Car and Driver, because I think, Car and Driver had a team out there.
Right.
And I think Phil was still writing for some of the Buff books.
Yep. And so, some of the autocross buddies and I said, hey, you guys want to do the Lemons thing? We're all like, yes, like duh, right? Like, why wouldn't we want to do this? And Stafford Springs was the closest, but then soon New Hampshire, they had 2 races a year in New Hampshire, and that was only a 3-hour tow for us. And so it was a really good time. And, I think we didn't cut a lot of corners with that car. I mean, it was a little cheaty. The first one, maybe not so much. but the second car was a little bit cheaty, but we didn't cut any safety corners, and we tried to be really careful in the build. And I think that Lemons does not sweat you spending a little bit of money to be reliable and safe, right? Don't spew oil, right? Don't, make sure everything's tight. Go slow when you build a car. Preferably, maybe bring it to Corey Dickman or somebody that's built a ton of cars that are successful. Have them look it over. But that's, I think, if I had to impart any wisdom or what I would do differently, is talk to people that already have done this and know what they're doing. It's a little bit the easy button to learn some of the answers before you just jump in.
Well, and I feel like, especially if they're coming from other disciplines, and Tim, jump in here if you've seen something different, but with other disciplines, everything is, I have a secret, we're doing our little thing over here. And I don't want, if I'm not cheating, I don't want them to know how I'm not cheating. And if I am cheating, I don't want them to know I'm cheating. And in Lemons, it's like, oh no, come over here, check this out. No, what you want to do is weld it up, do this, buy this part, go here. And here's the part number in the junkyard that you can go and totally bolt this in. And then you get like the limited slip and,
or hey, wait a minute, I got one in my trailer. You can have it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah. Don't, you know what? Screw it. Never mind. So here. And so, yes. And I feel like it is definitely, a hey, come on, we want you here. Try this, do this. We want you to have a good time. And if you're wrenching on the car, maybe you're having a good time. Maybe you're a masochist. I don't know.
Yeah. To your point, Jim, that people focus too much when they're just getting into Lemons, the ones that don't do it right. Well, how do I make the car faster? And I want to do this. And no, like the judges are going to hammer you if you go that direction right now. If you say, yeah, well, I wanted to put an oil cooler on this thing so I didn't want it to blow up on my first race. Okay, pass, right? You get a hall pass for stuff like that. It's totally fine.
I don't think I've ever hammered anyone for enlarged radiators, oil coolers, bigger brakes. Cool. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but if you come up with a lopey ass idle and you push on the you're like, okay, guys,
Yes.
Unless you're in a 41 Ford, then it's fine.
We're gonna let that one go. You get style points on that one. Hey, jump in here, Tim. You got some questions. You've known him longer than I have, but at the same time, you haven't. Because if you're up there running in the Northeast in 2009, 2010 timeframe, I know we've went against each other in the early days back up in New Hampshire when we were showing up in the boat and battling it out for C class.
Yeah,
we spent a lot of time with brake fluid in our hair over the years. Yeah. That's for sure.
We got a little in here.
I've got a great picture of Jim laying underneath he's laying on the floor underneath the car. There's a big hole where the engine used to be, and he's like with a wrench, like, yee!
Yeah, another K24, yay!
Oh, it's one of my favorite pictures of you. Painful as it was, but you've been racing a long time. You've been in Lemons a long time, and you've started like Mental and I. We've all kind of donned the orange jersey, and you've jumped into the staff side, and you've done some judging now too. So, right. There you go. You got the staff hat going. So what made you want to get involved on the staff side, and which do you like better, judging or doing safety? I know is kind of your gig that you like. Which of the two do you prefer?
I like them both, and I'm trying to remember the first time that I got the call or whatever, or got a request to staff a race. I do remember my first judging experience, which was completely impromptu, and it was Denver, and which used to be like Judge Phil's personal race, right? Denver, great race if you've never been. But Phil got deathly ill on food poisoning on Friday, and couldn't come at all on Saturday. So it's just Aaron Cole. If he's been on the show, I don't know. Aaron Cole's a fantastic human being.
We need to get him on here. He's a great person.
Right.
He's awesome.
Guru now, I think, and he's a photographer of excellent skill. But Aaron Cole and I kind of got thrown into the fire, and I sort of emceed the event, and Aaron was my judge. He and I were judges, and that was my first experience. And it went really Well, because I met all the teams, and maybe I didn't know all the judging protocols, and maybe I pissed a few people off. But basically, I had learned by watching people like Phil, like Jay. I love when Jay used to be a judge. I got a few good talking tos from Jay. You know?
Didn't we
And
all?
yeah, yeah. And so I learned that there is a fine line between treating somebody with respect and listening to them, but also not, taking any of their bullshit and really saying, "Hey, look, we're here to keep you safe. We want to have some entertainment out of this value, sure, but the real reason that we want to, have you come in the penalty box and talk to us is to learn from what you did wrong and not ruin the weekend for yourself or the rest of your team, right?" And there's a fun way to do that. There's judges who are really good at de-escalating. There's judges who are really creative with penalties. So the judging is a ton of fun. But I do love the safety aspect as well. I think the safety aspect, same thing. We don't want to bust your balls. We want you to learn something and learn how to do it better and safer. And my favorite thing to do is, and don't have to do it very often anymore, but the favorite thing to do is to watch a team do a pit stop and watch them do it too slow because they're trying to go too fast, right? They're fuel jugs around and they're yanking drivers out of the car and they're, wiping down the window. They're doing everything at this ludicrous speed. And if they just took dialed it down to 7/10 or 6/10, the whole pit stop would be a minute faster. And
Yes.
pulling guys over and saying, "Hey guys, huddle up. The car's gone. Thanks. Here's some things I noticed. Biggest thing though is slow yourself down, right? Because you're going to get hurt. Somebody's going to trip. Somebody's going to spill gas, whatever it is." So that aspect's a lot of fun too. And I've also done a lot of the gate work as well, greeting people on Thursday when they roll up after a 5 or 8 hour tow, where they broke a wheel bearing on the side of the road, and it just being a nice face, right? For them to show up at 9:30 right before the gate closes is also a good experience. I feel like, Lemons is definitely a customer friendly organization now, thanks to a lot of the staff, from top down. We really want to be a welcoming environment. And so the gate is a great place to do that too.
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, we've had those exhausting, oh my God, this is gonna be a miserable weekend, and then someone fun at the gate. Hey, how's it going?
Right. No attitude.
We made it.
Yeah.
We made it to Wally World.
Any questions? But the staffing's been a lot of fun. I think Kim runs a tight ship, but you always build a camaraderie with that team over the weekend. And there's a deep bench of people that are regular staffers, but there always needs to be more, because people have real lives and they can't do every race and they can't travel all the time. So if you've ever had an interest in it, you are one of the racers, put your hat in the ring. It's not too hard to do. You just walk up to Kim at one of the races. She's at most of them, or Rich Misek, who's also at most of them, and just say, "Hey, my skills are this. Could you plug me in somewhere?" A lot of folks will come in on a trial basis and see how they do for one weekend, and then it goes from there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've all done it, and all the positions are great. The judging is its own special kind of fun. Fridays are tough, right? Fridays you do not get a break from 12 to 6 or whatever it is. You're not going to sit down. You're not going to eat. You're not going to go to the bathroom. You're just going to and your voice is going to go hoarse.
And what I've noticed is when it's when it's a good crew, I don't notice all of those things. And all of a sudden, there's no more cars. What time is it? Oh my God. Oh, I'm exhausted. Give me some water. Oh, I suddenly have to pee.
Right.
Yeah. Friday goes hard in the paint.
Yeah. But I love it. It's, and you're an adventure athlete, and Tim, you're a triathlete, and I run. But at the end of a Friday, like a good Friday, when you got like a good crew and you guys are all hitting on all cylinders, and you're having fun, you're getting the media and stuff like that, and it's finally over. It's that same kind of rewarding exhaustion you get after you do one of those kind of races. Like, I'm going to sleep well tonight.
Right. And the other thing I would encourage people to do is that other racing series always need staff too. And you will learn a lot if you go work at a Champ Car event, or if I was lucky enough because I knew, Kim and kind of brought me in, is I did a whole season almost with Trans Am. And that was really great to see the, pro racing side of things and how they do it. It will really make you appreciate lemons is number one. Right? But it's also, they take safety really seriously. They take, the rules are serious, that type of thing. And people have a lot of money in it, but people still have fun. And, I was recently able to first time, marshaled an F1 race, and that was really cool too.
Yes. Yeah. We were going to transition to that, but yours is so much better because it's more organic.
We'll get there.
He totally just teed it up, didn't he?
I mean, I worked at Mount Washington Hill Climb with my kid back in 2011, and that was a ton of fun, right? The second day, I think we did nothing but chase illegal spectators out of the woods all day. That's what we did most of the time. Generally speaking, you don't get paid. You might get paid a little bit, and they cover your travel and stuff like that. Maybe they don't. But you're going to meet some cool people, and you're going to have a new experience, and you don't need to spend $1,500, which is basically what a Lemons weekend is per person these days, right? Between gas and everything else and tires and brakes. It used to be $1,000. Now it's $1,500, per person.
Least. Yeah, at least.
Keep going. Keep going.
Especially if you have a 454 and gas is $6 a gallon. So
Don't do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
It's open to refinery. Yeah. So, so staffing, I highly recommend, or find your local, SCCA or whoever it is that runs autocross in your area and go get involved there. You don't have to have a race car to get involved, I guess is my point. Flagging is, always something to do with your local racetrack, but there are cool and interesting people in every aspect of motorsports. And oddballs too, like us. We're living proof. There's oddballs everywhere. But in general, there's a lot of people solving really interesting problems and working really hard. So I find that interesting.
That's awesome.
So tell us a little more about being an F1 marshal. How was that?
Proceed with caution. Fantastic experience. And I was lucky enough to be at Miami and actually got to stay with my dad who lives in Fort Lauderdale. And really great experience. I have to give full credit to my fiance, Cheryl, who found the link 24 hours before the deadline and had mixed feelings on whether or not she wanted to show me the link.
Good girl, Cheryl. Good girl.
Too much. She showed the link. And I just had to put in here's my motorsport resume. Here's some work I've done in the past. And I think with the position I got, I probably didn't even need to do that because the intervention marshal is what they call the position that I was doing. And if you've ever watched an F1 race and you see a bunch of guys with white helmets and orange suits around the track standing around, that is what an intervention marshal is. And basically, when Romain Grosjean spins on the formation lap and, throws carbon fiber all over those are the guys that clean it up, right? Or if, Charles Leclerc spins at the tightest turn in the track in Miami and tries to K-turn it out of there. You remember that in qualifying? They're the guys that go out really hurriedly with the big old crane and hook that car up and very carefully get that multi-million-dollar piece of machinery safely off the track. So that's what the intervention marshals. They're the guys that like to play in traffic, as they say. So it doesn't require a lot of experience. They do give you training. You have to pay your way there. You don't get a hotel or anything like that. You get a few goodies they give you, but you get a ringside seat to F1 for the entire weekend. And that is pretty damn cool. You get a tiny bit of free time at the track. We had the coolest thing where they gave us a police escort every morning down 95 from Fort Lauderdale down to the track, where we had a whole squadron of, I think they were Broward County motorcycle cops. That was cool as all. And so it's just a really cool experience. Vegas, I think the deadline just passed for being a marshal for Vegas. So the next U.S. opportunity would probably be Miami next year. Motorsports Reg is where they do it, the signups for it. Highly recommend it, especially if you've ever done any flagging or radio work at a racetrack. They definitely need you, and maybe those positions are slightly more interesting to flag an F1 race than it is to be an intervention marshal.
Because I had the similar dilemma. I got the link. So yeah. All right, now you talked me into it. Next year I'm gonna have to try it.
And you could get a crappy station. Sometimes you're all the way at the end of a gravel trap where you barely see the cars go by. And it's a little bit of a roulette game. I would say do it with a buddy. Whatever you do, go with a friend so you guys can hang out, even if you don't get the best view. So just so you can have a great weekend. I had a great weekend regardless. Got to see my dad and stuff, but just go into it eyes wide open that it's going to be hard work and a long days. I think I was up at 5:30, and I think I was back at home at like 10 p.m. On both Friday and Saturday.
Yeah,
So that's a long.
I know they were staying up all night here. Obviously, our friend Ken Kodak was right in front of where the Ferrari, found the weakness of the manhole.
Yeah, God, how much the track sucked.
It was the car sucking, really, that just pulled that whole thing out. So
Right.
the weld held. It was the concrete around it that failed.
Yeah, surrounded around it. That's right. So,
So.
but really interesting. And Miami puts on a great show. I just put in a plug in for the Miami Grand Prix. That is a great event. They build that whole complex from nothing, basically from a parking lot around the stadium, and then it all goes away a week later. And
Okay. You build
I think it's pretty cool.
build a track from nothing on a busy thoroughfare. I get it.
But a good event. I went in with low expectations, but and those kind of opportunities in motorsports are around because there aren't as many people that want to do the hard work. But if you're somebody who doesn't mind a long day in the sun or doesn't mind talking to a lot of people, you will meet some really cool people. I think the first, my only driver interaction was Nico Hulkenberg doing his little walk around the track with his valet on Thursday, and it made a little eye contact, a little thumbs up with Nico. But so. But you might get a lot more than that. I had a buddy who was a pit marshal, and he had a lot more interaction with the driver. So, any case, it's definitely worth doing if you want to do it once if you're an F1 fan. But just pick your racing series and investigate it, and go volunteer, and go be at the track around, get a little bit more inner access than you would as just a fan, and you'll see a whole new side of the whole deal.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Tim, what
Go
else
ahead,
you got?
mental.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I'll let you do it.
yeah,
Next
when
one.
you're not racing, what do you do?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Jim thing. So it gets confusing. Yeah, we both have B's too.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Right. Well, either fixing the house in Arizona, or fixing the 190,000 mile Prius, which almost never breaks. But no, I love to go skiing. I love to be in the mountains. I love snow. Do a lot of that. And living in where I do in Arizona, and I guess being the age that I am, I've gotten into pickleball. I gotta say,
Oh,
when in Rome, that's all I'm saying.
Dang it, man.
Hey. Back in the day, I used to play some squash and stuff, and always liked, I play a lot of volleyball too, but it's a lot of fun, man. You get out there and it's easy to learn. The learning curve is pretty shallow. And it's a ton of fun. So, hey, mentally, if I came to you with a problem, you would be accepting.
No. And I'm glad you were finding a healthy outlet. I'm not judging you. I'm judging pickleball.
Isn't that the same thing?
It's different in my head, but yes, it is absolutely, totally the same thing. But all right, so what's your favorite track?
My favorite track is going to be an interesting answer because it's never had a lemons race there. Is the Circuit de Tremblant in Mount Tremblant in Quebec. That racetrack had the Canadian Grand Prix, I think, in the late 60s and early 70s. Go back to some of the Jackie Stewart footage and those type of folks, and Gilles Villeneuve, and those kind of people that race.
There's I want to say a great video of Scott Goodyear in the 944 Cup there eons ago, where he starts last because they had to swap the turbo in his car, and he finishes third. Yeah,
just a fantastic. I was just thinking about earlier. I wish that we would go north of the border just to see a couple of the tracks up there, like, Mossport or some of the other ones, Calabogie.
You've driven some of those.
What's that?
You've driven some of those.
Yeah, Calabogie, Mossport and Tremblant. But Tremblant by far, because the beautiful setting with the mountain there and the ski area and this cool little town, and rich executives coming in on their helicopters and stuff. But the track itself is very committing, beautiful surface, wide, great runoff, great curbs. There's no shortage of investment because a lot of rich people from Montreal and other places go up there. Beautiful track. Race it if you ever can.
All right.
Super
Good
cool.
answer.
That is super, super cool. What's your favorite event?
Like in lemons you're talking about in general? I mean, It's got to be the Stuntin' and Splodin Summit Point event. By far. That was, I mean, it's definitely not peak Lemons. You know, I'm not saying Lemons jumped the shark, but I will say
Oh,
people driving ATVs into track pads.
how no one died that night?
There may have been a tent, and there may have been an RX-7, and I don't know. You can't prove anything.
Yeah, I remember someone falling off the back of that mountain of wall pads, like the pyramid of wall pads, and someone falling off the back of it, and everyone just going, and then you hear them hit a pad in the back because it was probably a good 10-foot fall, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm fine," and everyone just goes back to, "Yay."
Yeah, that was the advent of Stuntin' and Splodin. That's where the rule came from.
Yeah, that one, and then what was hilarious is the next morning because they put everything back, but the colors were out of order, and I think also, the infamous burnout contest with the boat and the
yeah. Now a close second was probably the Jersey event with the bowling alley, the gooseneck trailer and Speedy Cop had set up a bowling alley, and the rave dance where the Cheetah Volvo guys were DJing a rave dance, and Bert may or may not have cage danced at that event.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe footage, I don't know. Ask Diane DeCola from the Volvo, she might have some. But the Jersey races also were a great party, and I think that the potlucks that we're seeing on the West Coast now, they're really starting to up their games. The Denver is always a great event, but certainly the Summit Point and that Jersey race stand out for me.
Yeah. That was definitely an evolution. What's your best memory on the track?
So there's a lot of good ones right out there, and our Volvo was relatively quick, so we had the luxury, right, sometimes of not racing too hard, right, because we knew we could kind of put the pedal down, and 15 psi covers a lot of bad driving habits. But I think my favorite one was actually getting number one was passing, I think, who were the guys from American Top Gear? Tanner Faust.
Oh,
I think Tanner Faust was awesome. That was great. I mean, it was easy to do, but it was still fun. But getting caught by Randy Popst in the 740 when I was in Burt, and this was Road Atlanta, and we were having a terrible weekend. The car wouldn't start. It was cold. It was raining. It was sleeting, and I got in the car, and I'm out there racing. And I'm learning the track, and I'm having a good time. Starting to get a little adventurous with it, and I see the Volvo maybe a third of a lap back. I get a view of him, and every lap he's getting about 2 or 3 cars closer. Every lap, Randy, here he comes. And sure enough, I think I held him off for about 3/4 of a lap, and I'm like, this is stupid. Like, why am I doing this? This is Randy, right? In his own personal vehicle. Like, who do I think I am, right? And then of course he disappeared. But it was good because I was like, hey, this is fun. He's a mortal. I mean, we've seen the Subaru pictures. We all know what's going on. But that was a really fun experience. And that was the race, by the way, where he had to walk around the paddock in a tutu, as I recall.
Yes.
With, selling for whatever their charity was. I forget who the charity was.
I want to say it was Lemons of Love. Yes, because he had incurred the wrath of the Kim.
Yeah. Your wristband is your wristband and yours only. Just remember that. Don't give it to anyone else.
And no one is immune.
No. So that was the race he walked around in a tutu. Yeah, selling raffle tickets, as they are called.
That is amazing. I have not heard that story. That is.
Oh yeah, that was the. I'm gonna say it was. Yes, it was the first time because I talked Three Pedal Mafia into coming down. I'm like, guys, come on down. It's great. It never snows in December.
I was standing like 4 inches on the track on Friday.
Yep. Got out of work early because it snowed, drove straight to the track on that day. And then they came the next year, and for only the second time in 14 years, it snowed in December in Georgia. And they said, we will never come to Georgia again. Mental, you're an asshole. Yeah.
Hey, at least you didn't go to Decatur in March in Eagle Canyon. That was the snowed out Lemons race.
I did actually.
Oh, you were there?
I drove my brand new RV like 100 miles from Atlanta all the way to Eagles Canyon
Yeah. Never snows there either.
Yeah, and I remember as I got there, like the you had to go up the hill to get into the track,
Yes.
and
big hill.
the guy's like, "Oh, they're having a real hard time getting up there, man. If you ain't got 4-wheel drive, I wouldn't even try it." And I kind of looked at him. I'm like, "Yeah, I lived in Nebraska." Dropped it into second, rolled right through, didn't even break traction, drove right at the gate. It was great that we had the RV because ended up Chris Champion, Mary, and a couple of the other guys from the old Texas version of Tetanus. It was a lovely place to be warm.
Yeah.
Didn't race anything.
Yeah, I think we all got sick. It was 3 of the guys in Burt one, Jason and a guy named Tom and I. And we nicknamed our hotel room Gringos Muertos. Because we were sure that's what the staff at the hotel was calling our room, because we were all sick and we were all in there like most of the weekend, like wet and cold and tired. And when those poor ladies had to go in there and clean the room, I'm sure they were like, oh.
Woo! Yes. Yeah. Oh man. All the memories. Oh,
Nope.
the great snowed out race.
What's your favorite memory in the paddock?
In the paddock. There's been a lot of good ones. I think seeing the boat towing the jet ski was pretty awesome. It was so well done.
CMP.
Yeah. And then I think also seeing, I have a lot of memories of Sasha just searching for stuff, like in his paddock space at every race. Like his paddock space would go from a paddock space to like Sanford and Son in like 2 hours.
Yes.
Basically every weekend.
The Sasha, the Sputnik explosion.
Yeah. We do grid search. We find special knuckle for Nissan Access van. So I love the guy. He's a great guy. But I'm going to say that's there's so many great memories. But I think, and then also the Jersey party that I mentioned, that was off the chain. And that was also the time I first really spent a lot of time talking to Dale S. That everybody knows, hopefully in Lemons. It's got the little red hat. And we nicknamed him Goathead for some reason, because I think he said go ahead, and we said, what do you want, Goathead? Goathead for the next 3 years. And of course, that's when I got the all gauges up story. That hopefully a lot of people know the all gauges up, pointing up story. And
Needles
I think
up.
half, there it is. That means everything's fine, right? The oil temperature, whatever, everything's pointing up. Dale was in the starter stand at in Michigan. Why am I blanking on it?
Gingerman.
Thank you. Gingerman. And I'm coming around. I see Dale in the thing, and I did the whole, all gauges up right to the starter stand about 3 laps in a row. And I think everybody around me was like, why the hell is this guy flicking off the starter stand? But, Dale knew what I did.
Happy birthday, Dale.
Happy birthday, Dale. Oh, okay. This is a bit deep, but what racing advice are you going to give to your younger self that you know now and you wish you knew when you first started?
That is an interesting one. Racing advice, like on the track racing advice, or just overall approach to the pastime?
Just something you wish you knew when you started.
Got it. I would say ask more questions and meet more people. I think early on we were pretty self-contained in our team, and we felt like we didn't, I think, go out of our way to meet people. And I think that's probably the most interesting aspect of lemons racing for sure, and other racing disciplines, is the people you meet. So, like Tim was saying, that guy might have the differential sitting in his truck. You never know. Right? Or you might have a 6mm Volkswagen stud, that snaps off, if you look at it sideways. He might have a whole, kit full of those. But you're going to meet some really interesting people. You'll meet some oddball people too that you maybe want to walk away from, that type of thing. But it's okay. It's a mixed bag. But I would say walk around the paddock when you get a chance, when you're still sober, of course, and see what people are up to and ask questions. And it comes naturally to us now because we've been to so many races that we do that sort of thing, because we know that's like the best part of the weekend. But I think when you're new, sometimes you're in your own little shell a little bit and you don't do that as much, and you kind of can go under the radar. So I would say get out there and meet people as much as you can. And I would say for on track, listen to what Jay Lamb says about endurance racing, it is not a racing problem or a speed problem. It is a resource problem. Getting a track around, a car around a track for that many hours is all about how you allocate your resources. The brake pads, the gas, the tires. The car is not going to take an incredible amount of abuse for the entire weekend. So you got to treat it like something that's is a finite resource. And if you come at racing that way, I think when I first got out there, I thought, this is just like an autocross, except longer. I'm going to go, as fast as I can every single lap. And that usually ends in tears. So that would be kind of the racing advice that I would give.
Solid.
Yep. Good advice. Good advice. All right. So now
Don't be the guy that breaks the car.
Don't be the guy that breaks the car. That's for sure. So now, if you could buy any car, what would it be? What is your dream car?
Does it have to be a brand new one?
God, no.
No.
All right.
Anything.
So my standard answer for a long, long time was Lotus Exige. I think I've moved past that. And I think I'm going straight to the B4 Audi, the 90, what was it called? The S2. So from the early 90s, the Audi S2 wagon, for me, was just the coolest effing thing. And of course, it was Europe only, right? And it had a big honking turbo, and it had Porsche brakes, and it had turbo lag for days, but it was the coolest effing thing out there on the road. And actually, I think they're attainable these days. I think you could probably import one. Yeah, there you go. You could probably there. Thank you. That right on cue. Wow.
Well done, Mental. Well done.
I think you're rolling around one of those just on the street as a quasi daily would be pretty effing cool.
I feel like it'd be a good filter too. Anybody that comes and talks to you about that car, you're like, okay, they're obviously a gearhead.
Right. It's not a Polaris slingshot. You're not getting attention for the wrong reasons.
All right. Well, we could. You already mentioned your Prius. What you got running in the garage these days?
So these days we've got the AMG wannabe SLK 320, which has the AMG appearance package. You have the AMG wheels, you have the AMG side skirts, you have a bunch of other AMG goodies, but you just have the regular old 3.2 Mercedes-Benz. I think it's the M112 motor. Really good motor, by the way.
That's a solid motor.
Yep.
Yeah.
12 spark plugs, 6 cylinders, no waiting. Good torque, decent gas mileage, okay to work on. I like that car a lot. I realize it's really kind of a Chrysler mashup with the Crossfire. But it's a cool car. I think I'm ready to move on. The hydraulic pump on the roof hasn't failed yet, so it's time to sell. Because that roof's kind of heavy if you got to do it manually. It's a cool car. I think, I'm trolling all the time always for, older Hondas, Toyotas, cool stuff out there that's not too expensive that are survivors. But that and the 190,000 mile Prius, we've pared down the herd. The Saab is gone. The old Chevy Traverse, that workhorse, is gone. Interesting story on that. I sold it to a crazy lady here in Tucson, like certified crazy. She showed up at my door 4 months later at saying, we have to go to the DMV in the next half hour without calling. She just showed up at my door. So that was unsettling. Fast forward about 3 months, I get a notice from the Tucson Police Department. There's an abandoned vehicle here that maybe you were an owner of. I'm like, no. Here's the paperwork. I sold it to that lady. So that's
not my problem. All right.
Wow.
That's a fun one. All right. Yep. I've sold cars to crazy people, but it has never come back to me. So we're going to throw this out there. You've listened to the show. You know how this goes. We've got, Hello Sweet. This one on the spot, and I'm not going to limit it to just you, Jim. Everyone has to answer this question. You get one Lemons car on track for the rest of your life. What's it going to be?
Not a Nissan.
I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say peak Omega. B-class winning Omega.
So much fun.
Oh, that car was just dialed.
Curbs? What curbs?
Yeah. Miatas? Whatever, pal. Oh, you think you can go through that corner fast? Watch this. Hold my beer. Yeah. All right, but no, seriously, which one? What's your peak Lemons? Whatever Lemons car. That's it. But that's the only one you get.
I'm going back to my roots. That Bertoni was the tits, man.
There we go. All right.
Live axle and all that shit that it's, and the
welded diff. I remember watching that thing try to park with that welded diff. All right, Tim.
Comfortable and fun and torquey as hell and easy to throw into corners and great out of corners and a brick. 120, she gets a little floaty. Other than that, she's great.
All right. Tim.
I think it's time for the daily double. I think it's the Omega. The Omega is just so it's such a good car.
Yeah.
It was.
It was. Yeah. It's
I will say this: a close second, a car I really, really enjoyed driving, and if it was still out there, I would say LS swap that thing and have a blast. Was the ugly brown Camaro. That car was so fun. Handled great. It had brakes that could stop time, and it just wasn't that fast. But it was fun.
And it looked right. It looked the part.
It did.
Yeah,
it really did.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jim, thanks for if you want to push your social medias, but I don't. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. All right. Here's the deal. So if you want to see what's going on in Jim's life, you got to come see him at the track, and he's at most of them. Get out of your shell. Come talk to him. Come meet people. He'll introduce you to other folks on that. And
Jim, if you had one quick question for you,
here we go.
If you wanted one thing as a bribe, as a judge at your next race, what would somebody bring you?
So some kind of bribe that is not the typical like Fireball whiskey or like a pack of Tipperellos or something like that, or some cigars. Right. Some really good sunscreen. Like the EWG, like Blue Lizard, like the really good stuff, not the crappy copper tone. That's a good one because everybody needs it at these races. Or if it's raining, like some really good rain gear or really nice, be practical, I think, with the judges. You can bring them sex toys if you want. Everybody get a good chuckle out of it. I would say one thing, if you're going to bring an illicit substance, just understand that you can't fly with that shit. So it's probably going to stay at the track anyway. So, I love the 420 guys, but, if you're going to drive home, that's great. But don't get an airplane with that stuff because you might end up in some, sheriff's office somewhere.
So somebody bringing a pot plant as a bribe would be
actually that would worked out pretty well because while I could not partake, I was able to take that one home, and my brother-in-law came and just literally sat on my back porch and thought that was the greatest thing he'd ever seen in his life.
Right. So gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
All right. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're not going to do our traditional readout on this one. So we're going to kick over to this thing and we'll see if it works. Here we go. Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you will join us in the world of driving, racing, building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. You can go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hated us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop us a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text pictures of your junk to me at 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram at everyone.racers, YouTube and Facebook under Everyone Racers, and even Reddit at /E1R. Thanks again. Until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless, like us, there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels down.